Sultan Ahmed of the Ottoman Empire passed away in 1617. As the common folk mourned for him, the statesmen were concerned with a major issue, the succession. When it came to the sons, the late Sultan was not close-fisted, for he had 9 of them. Naturally, the oldest of those would be in line to be the next Sultan. However, there was a glaring problem. His oldest son, Prince Osman, was only 13 when Ahmed died. Normally, despite his young age, this would not have stopped Osman's path to the throne. However, Osman had another shortcoming. His mother had died when he was an infant, and this was a major disadvantage in the Ottoman palace. For lobbying of a strong mother sultan was everything during successions. The mother sultan was the one that would bribe the janissaries and lobby among the ministers for his son. Thus, Osman was pushed aside as his mentally unstable uncle Mustafa ascended to the throne with his own mother's support. Mustafa's reign did not last long due to his mental problems. It is said that Mustafa would go to the beach and throw golden coins to feed the fish. Naturally, he was quickly deposed by the same people that had brought him to the throne, namely the Shaykhul Islam Assad, the greatest Islamic authority in the empire. Assad and other bureaucrats finally decided to give the young prince a try, only 2 months after Mustafa's coronation. 2 months might be short for most, but it wasn't for Prince Osman. He was mad at the bureaucrats and did not even try to hide it. Even on his day of coronation, Sultan Osman was still not happy. That day, he issued a written declaration, harshly criticizing the statesmen that brought him to power, accusing them, especially Assad, of betrayal and aiding his usurper uncle. He argued that the throne should have passed to him from father to son, not to his uncle. Obviously, this did not gain him any friends among the bureaucrats, but it was too late for them to change anything. But even if they wanted, the oldest prince, aside from Osman, was only 10 years old. The young sultan, however, did not stop there. The first thing he did as the sultan was to limit the powers of many bureaucrats. He especially hit the office of Shaykhul Islam Assad hard, stripping him from many of his powers. Osman was determined to be the first absolute monarch in the empire since the times of Suleiman. For half a century, the sultans have been figureheads and left the state affairs to ministers rather than commanding the armies in the field and spearheading administrative reforms. Gone were the days when Sultan Suleiman led his armies from Vienna to Iraq. Osman was going to change it. He had plans for great conquest and massive reforms for his empire. It had been so long since the empire had conquered a province, and the young idealist sultan found his target. He wanted to conquer Poland-Lithuania for his empire. It was weaker than its other neighbors and would be easier to conquer. He also hoped to get a base in the Baltic Sea, where he was going to build a massive naval base to operate in the Atlantic Ocean, possibly even in the Americas. He would then use Poland as a base to invade Austria from a new front and do what Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent could not: take Vienna. This was a great task to accomplish. First of all, Poland was much more powerful than Osman thought. But even in case of a victory, it would be impossible for the Ottoman Empire to conquer large chunks of Poland due to its sheer size. And let's also not forget the geopolitical situation, for Russia or Austria would not allow the Ottomans to advance unopposed. However, these realities were hard to explain to a 14-year-old idealist boy who needed a victory to secure his throne. However, first he had another matter at hand. The Ottoman Empire was at war with Safavid Persia since 1603, and it had ended in defeat for the Ottomans, with Safavids retaking the provinces they lost to the Ottomans in the previous Ottoman-Safavid war in late 1500s. Osman secured a peace deal with the Safavids, freeing up his hand to deal with Poland. Poland was a rather unorthodox choice on behalf of Sultan Osman, for despite the iconic moment in the Siege of Vienna, Polish-Ottoman relations were usually amicable. In almost 400 years, the two states bordered each other. They only fought 4 major wars, which is as good as it gets between neighboring empires with different religions. Yet, Osman got his casus belli, or reason of war, when Poland started interfering with Moldovan affairs, which was a subject of the Ottoman Empire. Osman declared war on Poland and sent a vanguard of 20,000 men. Meanwhile, he mustered a grand army in Constantinople. In 1620, the Ottoman vanguard met with a Polish army and completely annihilated it in the Battle of Sisora. The Polish commander was captured and executed by the Ottoman troops. This further encouraged Osman in his grand plans. He refused to meet with the Polish diplomats sent to make peace and started grinding. He spent the fall and the winter of that year trying to discipline his army. He would raid the Janissary tea houses and barracks to find out and punish those that committed petty thefts. Hundreds of troops were punished directly by him. This upset the Janissaries greatly. Soon, Sultan Osman became the #1 enemy among the Janissaries. The young Sultan was unknowingly putting himself in dangerous waters. The winter of 1620 hit Osman's plans especially hard. This was the period known as the Little Ice Age, when the world was experiencing cooler temperatures than usual. That year was especially hard, as the Bosphorus completely froze off. For sure it was a sight to behold for the locals, yet the spectacle didn't last for long. Constantinople at the time was dependent on food transported through the sea, and now that it was frozen, the food supply was cut off. Food prices quadrupled in just a few days. This hit Osman's popularity among the populace hard, and was seen as a bad omen. Allah clearly disapproved his rule. As the spring came close, Osman was almost ready to launch his campaign. Yet one problem was bugging him. His stepbrother, Prince Mehmet, was growing up at the age of 12. This was deeply worrying, for Osman was not sure of his throne's security. Presence of another older prince might have led to conspiracies by the bureaucrats and the Janissaries he had upset. So he came up with the most Ottoman idea ever, to murder his brother. However, to execute a prince, he had to get a religious order from Assad. But Assad did not consent. Maybe it was Assad's conscience that caused him not to order the 12-year-old prince's execution. Or maybe it was Osman's antics against him. We do not know. However, at the end, Osman was not able to get the religious order. But this did not stop him. He went to the Grand Judge of the Empire, the man that was responsible for administrating the courts. The judge desired the seat of Shaykhul Islam and did Osman's bidding in hopes that he would replace Assad. So he issued an order, declaring that the murder of the young prince was necessary and completely legal. Though the judge's dreams of becoming the Shaykhul Islam did not come to fruition, as he would die within a few months due to fever. Osman, now with the religious backing he needed, ordered the murder of his brother. He watched as his executioners strangled Mehmet. It is said that as the executioners attacked Mehmet, the young prince broke free from their grasp with his last strength and cursed Osman. "May your end be just like mine." And moments later he was strangled to death. Osman was now a kinslayer, a child murdering his younger brother without remorse. But this was the reality of the Ottoman political system. You either win or you die. Now that his young brother was out of the way and his massive army was ready, Osman was finally ready to achieve his great goals. Onward to Poland, to conquest, to war. The young general thinks himself of unbeatable. Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe if you like my content, and check out our other videos as well. If you see any room for improvement or anything you don't like, please tell me in the comments. If not, an artist always welcomes compliments, so feel free to leave positive ones as well. Peace be upon you, and we will see you in the next episode.